We are witnessing unprecedented technological advances, yet also increasingly severe social, economic, and environmental crises. We live in a time of deep contrasts where scarcity affects many, and abundance benefits only a few. The market, established as an almost dogmatic paradigm, has proven incapable of self-regulation, as postulated by its theoretical defenders. This reality evidences the need to rethink the very foundations of our economic system beyond traditional econometric adjustments that merely manipulate indicators up or down and have proven insufficient to address structural causes. Just as Bahá'u'lláh revealed fundamental paradigm shifts, such as the oneness of humanity and the essential unity of religions, with their profound implications for the reorganization of society. He also introduced two revolutionary concepts in the economic sphere that radically redefine our understanding in this area. The first is the framing of economic challenges from a spiritual perspective, recognizing that material crises require solutions rooted in ethical principles and deep spiritual values. The second proposes transforming the materialistic vision of work, elevating it as an act of worship. When carried out with a spirit of service and devotion, work becomes a sacred endeavor. These changes are not mere adjustments to the current system, but a profound reorientation of the goals of economic activity, viewed no longer as an end, but as a vehicle to harmonize material well-being with the spiritual development of civilization. In recent decades, we have witnessed a troubling transformation. What was initially a market economy, considered as a useful tool for organizing the production and distribution of material goods, has become a market society where practically everything is reduced to monetary transactions, including the most fundamental human relationships. Market mechanisms have invaded spheres that should be based on moral, social, and civic principles. This commodification has reached alarming dimensions. Justice has become a commodity that can be bought and sold according to purchasing power. Access to health operates as a commercial product where price determines the quality of care received. Education and its excellence depend directly on the amount one can pay. Even family and family relationships are being subjected to economic valuations. Medical specialists reserve their consultations exclusively for patients who pay high monthly fees, in exchange for direct access to their private phone number and guaranteed appointments within 24 hours. The most extreme examples include the commercialization of human organs with rates that vary according to the country of origin, or the macabre death bonds, where investors invest and bet on the lives of elderly people, collecting insurance based on their prompt death. This reality reveals how the logic of the market has surpassed the bounds of economics to colonize essential aspects of human life. One of the most devastating consequences of this market society is the continuous expansion of the gap between those who have resources and those who lack them. Greater purchasing power not only grants immediate material advantages, but generates a cumulative effect where these advantages multiply and perpetuate over time. Those who possess resources can not only access better education, health, and an infinity of other services, but have access to networks of influential contacts, which in turn allows them to generate more resources to further expand their advantage. Meanwhile, those without such resources face increasingly high barriers to accessing basic services and opportunities for progress. This market culture that has permeated our society has redefined the human being as an insatiable consumer of material goods, where constant growth in consumption is considered synonymous with social progress. This obsession with material accumulation as a source of meaning and happiness has become deeply rooted in power structures, marginalizing any alternative paradigm. The purely materialistic worldview has contributed to the deterioration of human conduct, the breakdown of families and communities, institutional corruption, and the exclusion of large sectors of the population, especially women and girls. Although economic activity is fundamental to prosperity, a more just society requires a harmonious balance between the material, moral, and spiritual dimensions of human existence. Spending priorities worldwide reveal a terrible reality, according to recent 2024 data, providing clean water and sanitation to the entire world population that lacks these services until 2030 would require $150 billion. Ensuring universal basic education, including infrastructure, teacher salaries, administration, and materials, would require another $50 billion. In contrast, global military spending in 2024 reached $2.7 trillion. That is, 18 times more than what's needed to completely resolve global deficits in education and sanitation. This comparison becomes even more striking when considering that the figures for water, sanitation, and education cover a 5-year period until 2030, while military spending is annual and growing. The comparison factor of 18 would in reality be over 90. Wealth distribution, a reality that challenges all notions of justice. The richest 1% of the world's population concentrates 48% of all accumulated wealth on the planet. Even more striking, just 10 men possess more wealth than 3.1 billion people, the poorest 40% of humanity. In 2024, nearly 300 million people faced critical levels of food insecurity. Among them, almost 40 million children under 5 years old suffered from acute malnutrition, a figure that represents human lives in immediate danger. Deaths from starvation are not publicly reported or systematically recorded, rendering invisible one of the most preventable tragedies of our time. This food crisis disproportionately affects women and girls, who represent 60% of the affected population, perpetuating cycles of vulnerability and inequality. The coexistence of these realities exposes the profound moral fracture of our global economic system. Bahá'u'lláh describes, in his writings, how the divine physician has his finger on the pulse of humanity, diagnosing its spiritual illness and prescribing the necessary remedy. The transition toward more sustainable and equitable patterns of production and consumption requires a deep change in the entire social structure based on the recognition of two fundamental truths: the interdependence of all human beings and their vital connection to the natural environment. This transformation encompasses multiple dimensions crystallized in principles enunciated by Bahá'u'lláh. The development of a consciousness of world citizenship that transcends current national divisions. The creation of a future federation of nations with real capacity to make decisions that affect all humanity. The recognition that planetary resources constitute a common heritage of the human species. Full equality between men and women in all spheres of social life. The establishment of a universal currency together with effective mechanisms of global economic justice. The adoption of an international auxiliary language that facilitates communication and mutual understanding among people. And, fundamentally, the reallocation of the enormous resources currently destined for military expenditures toward constructive social purposes that benefit all humanity. These changes are not isolated reforms, but elements of an integral transformation that reflects the essential unity of the human family.
O children of men, know ye not why we created you all from the same dust? That no one should exalt himself over the other? Ponder at all times in your hearts how ye were created. Since we have created you all from one same substance, it is incumbent on you to be even as one soul, to walk with the same feet, eat with the same mouth, and dwell in the same land, that from your inmost being, by your deeds and actions, the signs of oneness and the essence of detachment may be made manifest.